Hi, this is Kerwin Brown, and welcome to another edition of On the Roll. And today I'm with Allen Wright. Allen is the president of Hansaloy. And Allen, welcome to On the Roll.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I usually like to get us started with some either or. So you kind of give me the, which one's your favorite or whatever. So I know you're a golfer, and so you get around to golf with anybody. Playing with Tiger or playing with Scotty?
I would say Scotty. Fun to see greatness at its apex right now. So
Yeah.
I would say Scotty.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Okay, donut or croissant?
Probably donut.
Or morning guy or evening guy?
I can do both, but typically more morning.
More morning. Pie or cake?
Cake?
You guys do a little bit of slicing of bread. So you're slicing for breakfast, toast or bagel?
Oh, it's got to be toast.
It's got to be toast. Okay. And then favorite baked good?
Favorite baked good? I would say a donut is up there for me, but that's kind of where I'm at.
And for me, it is a plain glazed donut. If I can have that.
Yeah,
really fresh.
It's an indulgence, right?
It's totally indulgent. And you kind of just eat one, you feel like you're done, or eat two or whatever. So path to baking. So you've been at Hansaloy for 31 years, your entire career, and I know your dad, and he was part of BEMA, and you've been a part of BEMA for a long, long time. So talk about you've been in the baking industry pretty much, and then maybe kind of what your earliest memories of baking would be. So
yeah, well, it goes back a long way. So I was fortunate enough, my dad was an engineer at a company called Alcoa, and my mom had a daycare in our home. One of the girls that he took care of had this little company. Her dad had a company called Hansaloy, and he needed somebody to come be an engineer. So he hired my dad away from the big Alcoa aluminum maker and went to Hansaloy. And so we sort of grew up. That was talk around the dinner table. And, early memories for me are going in and doing some jobs there. The building got added onto, hey, go sweep the floor up. Some of the landscaping that is outside of the building, shockingly, is stuff that was planted by me a long time ago, right? And so I have those memories. But we talked a lot about what happened there. And then kind of in college, I was able to work there a little bit on and off doing whatever was needed. A little bit out in the shop, a little bit maybe in the office. And so after college, I quickly found out a few things I didn't want to do, which is, I think a lot of people say, do you know what you want to do? And for some people, I think that evolves over time a little bit. And part of that story is knowing what you don't want to do. Right. And so I've always been interested in manufacturing and that process. And we're truly a consumable manufacturer. And so manufacturing a lot of the same things over time. And so that, the owner of Hansaloy was fortunate enough to offer me a job early on in my career. And again, fortunate enough to stick with me. When you're young, you certainly make mistakes. You need to grow. You need to, you need to develop as a person. And so I had a lot of help from my dad, but also faith from our owner that was going to turn out good. And so, I don't know, I guess at this point I'm still there. So, I guess that must have worked to some degree.
Yeah, for sure. And again, your entire, your career in baking, I often like to ask kind of what's the best thing about baking? What's the best thing about our industry? You've been able to see it from the inside for a long time. So
yeah, well, I think there's several answers to that. Like, one is I love the idea of I need to be a little bit hands-on. So doing something every day that contributes to the quality of people's lives there's a reward in that that's not monetary. It's just kind of internal. And so that part of it, I definitely enjoy. And the people in the industry, I mean, for me, my path to get to this point, I guess I've met so many great people along the way that have taught and helped me grow professionally and personally. So, I think most people go, oh, he's kind of a quieter person, but I'm always watching, and boy, I'm sure thankful and grateful for all those people along the way that have reached out and helped me in ways they don't even know. Right. You don't always get to say that stuff, but I think of Mike Goody, and he got the Lifetime Achievement Award, but early on he asked me to lunch with Jim Lynch, and I mean, I was kind of starstruck a little bit by that, right? And you go, those types of things have an impact on you for the long term. And so the people, and you hear it, and I'm maybe a bad person to ask. I've only been in this industry, so I don't know anything else. But to me, the people are awful special in this industry. And, you know, when you look around and I think of my peer group from college and, you know, my brother and different people I've talked to, they're not in the same situation like this. So I do think it is unique, you know.
I do too. For sure. Sometimes I like to ask to get to know people kind of funny story in their career or maybe worst day on the job or whatever. So I'll let you choose funny or kind of worst day on the job and see what you have.
Well, you know, maybe, I don't know if worst day is the right word. Maybe I'd say biggest learning. I think you learn from a lot of times from failure more than you learn from success.
Right.
We tend to think we're geniuses when something goes right. But in failure, you really question what you're doing. And so I can vividly remember being at a bakery and being called to the carpet on something that I had done and went, okay, I'm in the wrong. And I was smart enough, I guess, to at that point in time to admit to that. And we talked through it. And I turned out with that person. We had a great relationship until he retired. But I will never forget that day. And I passed that day on to people in our organization today, you know, of ways to learn. And so that sticks out to me as a day I'll remember.
It's good. So you're very involved with IBIE and have been for a while. You are the vice chair of this cycle, which is 78 days away or something. And then you will be the chair over the next cycle. So, you know, I love that show. I've been a part of it for a long time. It's kind of at the heart of our industry, I think, brings our industry together. So kind of what does, again, been on the inside of IBIE for some time, and almost daily, what does IBIE sort of mean to you and what we produce as a show?
Well, I mean, there's a lot there. I think what you said, you know, you think about bringing the industry together. Those 4 days are a chance for anybody to see that alive out on the show floor, the marketplace. And to me, that's exciting, you know, and doing what we can do for the attendees and the exhibitors to make sure it's an experience that they don't forget, want to come back to is I think really fun thing to be a part of. I think that's a big memory. You talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of markers in people's minds around IBIE and things that have happened, relationships that develop, business things that happen at the show or because of the show. So I think it's an important component to our industry and really it gets the industry together. You know, again, I'll go back to the people part of it because I think people are just, you know, earlier I had to give an update to the convention on IBIE and people say, oh, it's such a big job. And my reaction to that is it's not fair that one person is really up there giving that presentation because there is a big team of people working very hard to make that show happen. And so, and again, if you have that mindset, like there's a lot to be learned from the people in that room, whether they're suppliers or bakers or our vendor partners, there's a lot to be learned. And so I think for me, from a professional development standpoint, BEMA and IBIE being involved in those things, it's done a lot for me and pushed me to see things differently and grow as a leader. And, you know, and it's been a huge part of my career, obviously, or I wouldn't have done it because I've been, going on 20 something years of being involved and giving back. So,
I'll follow up that a little bit. You know, again, I would say you have sort of had this career of volunteering. Again, you've been involved with BEMA, you've been the chairman of BEMA, you're about to be, you know, the chair of IBIE. All those extra hours, all that extra time, you know, people do their whole career without doing that. Some people do it a little bit, some people do it a lot. You have done it a lot. So why keep volunteering? Why was that something that was impressed on you early on in your career, or why have you just kept doing it and kept being involved?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was impressed early on. I think that's one. You know, I think to get the best sense of what's going on around you in the industry, it's a great way to stay in touch with that. And so, you know, to work in a business or run a business in a vacuum is not, you know, it's not what we've chosen to do. And so I would say that's a huge part of it because it does keep you abreast of what's happening around you. And so I think there's the practical component side of that where that's a smart thing to do and you know what's going on. But I think in some way, I mean, there's so many people in this industry involved in a lot of different things within the industry, and then lots of people involved with things outside of the industry where they're doing good.
Right.
And so, that's a part of this industry that's just ingrained in a lot of people. And so we all have X amount of time in a day, right? And so probably the bulk of my time has gone to that. I mean, I've certainly volunteered and done things outside, but you do spend some Tuesday nights writing emails and making later phone calls and doing those type of things to try to keep things on the course that you think is correct. And so, but again, you learn a lot and you invest in people, and like I think of the friendships that I've been able to make and go have some really meaningful friendships, because of that.
Right.
So, and you can't do it. Again, another conversation earlier this week. I'm so fortunate to be in a place where I've been supported and allowed to do that.
Right.
Lots of people don't get that opportunity, I don't think. And so being able to be in a position in a company that believes in that and supports that has worked. It's worked well for me and for our company, I think.
Well, thank you, Al, for spending a few minutes with.
You bet.
So I get to spend on a pretty regular basis. I get to spend a lot of time with you, which I certainly enjoy. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of On a Roll, and we'll see you next time.